You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of goddamn nerds. Nerds!
Welcome back to Nerds Podcast. The dynamic duo of Puba and Pete are here, and we're going to break down Welcome to Derry, Episode 6, In the Name of the Father. If it's your first time here, please subscribe. If you're already a cool nerd and subscribe, hit the thumbs up and share the love by commenting below. There are some really cool scenes in this episode, and we'll discuss some of those things that you might have missed. Pete, I want to start out with some comments that I read about this particular episode, and they thought it was a letdown. Did you think that?
No, I've not been let down so far.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this as well. And I agree with you 1,000%. I think they're doing a great job with the filming, filling in the gaps, and they give us some great details, like, Chief Bowers, that he saw the clown in the photos, and now we understood why he saw that and not the dead kids. It all came to fruition for you in this episode?
Yeah.
All right, we get another flashback, 1935. I love the transition to black and white, but the colors that pop out are Pennywise, red and yellow. Ingrid wakes up, little girl, Mabel, out of her sleep. And I got kind of a Nightmare on Elm Street vibes, taking her to the boiler room. The 1984, of course. Pete, did that hit you at all, going to the boiler room?
No, I didn't think Nightmare on Elm Street. Just like, what do you, it's a little girl who's scared. What are you doing? Like, leave her alone. But of course.
I'm going to do this to my kid one time. Just get up in the middle of the night. Let's go down to the basement. We've been harping on how well they cast, of course, this younger and older group versions of these characters. And they use a different actress to play Ingrid. It took me a minute to actually see that it wasn't Ingrid herself. Did you catch that?
What, the woman who woke up the little girl?
Yeah.
Well, they probably could have used that CGI that kind of de-ages them, like they did Michael Douglas and Ant-Man. They did the same thing. No, I'm sorry. In Endgame, when they went back to 1974, I believe, to S.H.I.E.L.D. to get the PIM particles. They de-aged them now. They did that with Alfred Molina in No Way Home. Spider-Man.
Yeah, they used a completely different actress. They actually did use a different actress.
Oh, really? I thought they just did that. They just used that CGI.
Like I said, I couldn't tell. Then I started looking at the cast, and it was a different actress that played Ingrid. Again, Miss Shady does the best of this in the sense of aging people and using different actresses to play their younger selves. Knocked it out the park with this one, because like I said, I couldn't tell until I saw the cast for this episode. But Pennywise shows up as the balloon drifts into the air. Bro, Skarsgård, I know he's 6'4", but he looked massive in that doorway. And we cut into the opening credits, and we're getting now some different eerie tones that we didn't get before when we first started getting these credits. So people, listen up now to when the credits are popping in. You'll hear a little bit of sound that's a little different from the other episodes that we saw. Then we get what I wanted to see, Pete. Leroy Hanlon talking to his son Will. And of course, this is after he shot his wingman Paulie, and Leroy loses complete control and hits Will. Now, Pete, I got to ask you, is it just frustration, or is Will right when he says it's gotten to you? What do you think?
A little bit of both. I think, he lost his friend. He's the one who shot him. He lost his friend, and he probably, just that whole episode in the sewers, I guess he can see that he had no control. He ended up, he thought his wife was, possessed or whatever. And he thought he shot his wife, and he sees her with the Pennywise grin. And then he sees his son there. And he's probably the last person he would have thought he would have saw there in the sewers. And if it wasn't for his friend intervening and telling him, I see them too, he probably would have shot his son. So maybe a bit of frustration in the fact that he wasn't in control.
Oh man, it's hard because again, to all that you just said, and on top of that, there's this entity that's messing with your head. It's kind of crazy that this show does a really good job of showing how Derry can actually change people. But now there's wanted posters, missing posters. Specifically, I pay attention, of course, to the one at Quality Meats because of Hank trying to find Hank, because Hank is banging out his wife, which would probably be put up by him if he actually knew that, but anywhere, because he's also in the bar with the mob when they meet up at the end. But Lilly, of course, shows the space dagger to all the kids, and she seems to be much like the precious. She doesn't want nobody to touch the dagger. And of course, this causes friction amongst the group as she wants to go back into the sewer. Of course, Bill in chapter 1 wanted to do the same thing. A little bit of deja vu for me. And Pennywise does this to try to create that divisiveness amongst the young group. Pete, did you catch that a part of chapter 1 when they started arguing with each other?
Yeah. So I didn't associate this episode with chapter 1, but yeah, they're of course they're scared. Who wants to go back into after what just happened? After what just happened, and like you brought up the dagger, that shard type thing that she has, that she found, that she noticed that Pennywise was scared of, which is, I guess, his weakness. She was holding on to that. It reminded me of Bishop and Juice after he shot Raheem.
What a great analogy! Wow.
After he shot Raheem, he was like, they were like, "Yo, we got to get rid of the gun," and he was like, "I'm gonna hold on to it." Like, he wasn't giving up that gun for nothing. She was very protective of it the same way. So that kind of just, you ask me all the time, did you think about this? Did you think about this? Well, I thought about Bishop and the gun from Juice, the way she was protective of the shard.
Yeah, no, and we'll get back to the shard in just a second. But we get back to the black spot. Dick Halloran, Doc, he sees something, and we don't see it. Probably a ghost from the lockbox. And it reminded me again, I'll come back to different things that we did, like the Sixth Sense, how the kid sees ghosts and no one else sees it but him. And then we get back to Will and Ronnie, where they're about to kiss, and the mother calls them back into the car. Pete, please tell me you caught the Mr. Softy tune.
I didn't. I was paying attention to that. I thought that was going to happen, and then the mother blocked. The mother blocked.
Yeah, if you catch it again, and if you grew up in New York City, and if you know who Mr. Softy is, they played the Mr. Softy tune with the ice cream, which again just takes me back to my childhood, which of course we never had anything like Pennywise, but for sure it took me back to a childhood. We get back to the black spot again, and Doc is super upset that they're hiding Hank here. Now you know why Ingrid went to go see Charlotte at the end of the previous episode. And Charlotte brings the kids to the black spot, which is like a juke joint. I have no why she did that. But of course,
bad parenting again.
But it's that she wants to have Ronnie see her father. And it was a great moment for them to kind of catch up and things of that nature. And, we get more of this romanticizing with Rich and Marge at the tower, Pete. Were you grossed out when he tried to change her bandage?
No. He's putting in work. That's what we call putting in work. And she's digging him.
It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy to think that. I also caught that part of that in that portion when he threw the paper airplane, went into the sewer. Again, chapter 1 hits me hard with the boat going into the sewer. Same thing for you?
Yeah, I was like, of course, it goes perfectly into the sewer. Yeah.
The perfect people. It just went in. Leroy then goes, visits Doc, and he's trying to get blasted drunk. Like, he is not trying to feel anything at all. When Leroy walks in, did you catch the ghost that was behind Leroy with his head kind of blown off?
I did not see that.
Yeah, if you go into, again, guys, if you see this stuff, pay attention, because now Doc, of course, because the shine is going to be seeing different things. When Leroy enters the door, there's a guy behind him with his head blown off. And in Stephen King's Dr. Sleep, of course, the ghost, Doc's ghost, talks to Danny and tells him to try to avoid the drinking because you need to be able to control your shine. Doc then explains to Leroy and tells him his box was unlocked. Pete, these guys have great chemistry on film. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up, now that you bring up the chemistry, I wanted to bring up the fact that, it must be difficult to work with child actors. And like you brought it up earlier, Muschietti, with his casting choices, but just the fact that they're meshing well together. They're bumping heads with Lilly because she wants to go back. Ronnie's just really concerned about her dad. Nobody else wants to go back down to the sewers because what they saw their friends dead floating in the water. They had to run from Pennywise. Why the hell would they want to go back down there? And then she's being defensive because she has the shard. She doesn't want to give it up because she knows that that's what scares him. That's what's his weakness. So I wanted to touch on that, on the fact that they're doing a great job playing these parts, and they're kids, they're young kids. So now that you bring that up with the chemistry, I wanted to kind of highlight that the kids are doing a great job, just like chapter 1 and 2.
Quick question for you, sidebar. I'm just thinking about this stuff as we're talking. Would you want to see an early version of The Shining with Doc in it, with this same actor playing Doc, a series before, of course, Jack gets to the Overlook Hotel?
I mean, I don't know if he would have to be old. He would have to, the same actor. You mean he'd have to be
right? But it's a younger version of him before Jack comes to, like, a couple of series before Jack gets to the Overlook Hotel.
Oh, you mean way before he gets to the Overlook?
Correct.
Hotel.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Leave It Alone.
I don't know.
I know you're a big fan of Leave It Alone. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't want to, you don't want to milk the cow too much. You know what I mean? And
yeah, and if you can't get Muschietti to do this, then don't do it at all. Listen, one of the craziest things in this episode, Pete, is when Charlotte is packing her stuff and she literally tells her military husband that she is leaving with her son and she's going to pack another man in the car who's going to be under arrest and get back to Shreveport, Louisiana. But, we know that due to future Leroy, right? Because you have to remember, Leroy Hanlon is the same grandfather that's in chapter 1 for Mike. Where he tells Mike that his father was never scared, and Mike's like, no, I'm not like my father. Don't say that to me. So we know that Leroy is gonna stay, even though she's packing up her stuff to leave. We know towards the future that Leroy is gonna stay. But Pete, this is the question I have for you because you mentioned the shard. We get Pickled Dad again in the math class where Lilly is actually holding the shard, but I thought she was safe. Pete, what's going on here?
I mean, just because she sees something doesn't mean it doesn't work. Again, those could be mind tricks, And just props to the effects department. That her dad, the way they're portraying him, looks crazy.
Yeah, it gives me a little bit of
and the voice too is crazy. But yeah, I don't think that it has anything to do with the shard. That could be just an hallucination that Pennywise.
It lit up. The shard lit up in the math class.
Oh, okay. So
I don't get it. Like, I'm trying to understand it. Like, he would stay away from that, being that she's holding on to the precious. But he calls her crazy, which we know is a trigger word for her. And he's trying to stop the kids from gathering, and he tells her the same thing that he said in chapter 1. I think he said it in chapter 2 as well. He's constantly saying, if you try, you're going to die. He keeps telling that to the kids because, again, he's trying to create this divisiveness. But I'm trying to figure out, like, if she has the shard, he would stay away. Confusing for me. But then we get back to the school cafeteria where Rich and Marge are sitting down, and they both recognize at the same time that they're hearing voices in the pipes. Rich was kind of shook daddy, and he peed in the jar because he didn't want to go to the bathroom. And then he gives Marge an old eye patch that his uncle or someone else had in his family. I did find a little humor that she called him Ricky Ricardo because, of course, Rich is Cuban. You got the Cuban crisis going on, and Ricky Ricardo was Cuban at the same time. But Pete, did you think for a second that she was going to turn on Rich and sit with the patty cakes?
No. She already seen what they are. You know, she apologized to Lilly. She knew she was wrong before she even freaked out and had that accident, because she started crying and she was about to tell her before she went out there. But yeah, no, I didn't think for 1 second. And look, I told you, she's feeling rich. She wasn't giving that up.
Rich got some game.
She already saw that. She already saw that.
Well, the kids all go back to the black spot, which is absolutely crazy. And I was actually in tears laughing when Rich was going in. He said, last time I prayed, my Theo tried to kill me in the cemetery. Hilarious. And Marge, when she's going in, she does the sign of the cross in the name of the Father, which is, of course, the name of this episode as well. And here we go. Right after 15 takes, I feel I have been vindicated. Lilly goes to visit Ingrid, and Pete, did you catch the neighbor smiling before she walked in? Because I know you're always on the Pennywise watch.
Well, I'm always looking for the people doing weird things in the background, like when she was in the supermarket and the guy kept peeking out from behind the shelves.
Oh, that was creepy.
And when he was following her, that was one of the creepier ones. This series, I'll probably watch that again. But I did see that. But again, I think we all were suspicious of Ingrid. We all knew something was up with her. So I didn't notice the neighbor though.
So tell me, Pete, I finally got it right. Ingrid is Bob Gray's daughter. What was that scene for you like? That whole thing, her going up the steps, the way Ingrid kind of popped up going up the steps. Was like, okay, Puba was on this for a minute and he got it right. What did you think?
The shot was kind of set up because they had it like from the stairs going up to the attic. So you knew that was going to happen. Like, the shot of her from behind coming up the stairs and seeing that she was there, seeing that Lilly was there. Lilly probably shouldn't have went in and just helped herself and just walked in the house like that. Because who knows if the husband was there, you know what I mean? So I thought that was a bad idea, but of course it's leading up to she makes a discovery, and then of course Ingrid confesses and confirms it.
Oof. That means that Ingrid this whole time is only working at Juniper Hill in the hopes that she finds a kid that sees her dad. Like, that's the only reason why she's there. So a couple of Easter eggs here. I'm going to dive in. So from the pictures and dates, as I saw this, I'm guessing that Ingrid is about 62 years old at that point in time. I need to know what her secret is because she looks great for 62. Which means that
62 is the new 42, I guess.
Especially in Derry, because nobody dies in Derry. Which means that Muschietti's timeline, when Beverly visited her in chapter 2, she would have been 106 years old. Now, the pictures of her dad, Bob Gray, are shown.
Hold on. Your math is blowing my mind right now.
Yeah. So she's 62.
In 1962.
In 1962.
So chapter 2 was in what was in what?
Don't know the math right now.
It was 2017.
Yes. So she would have been 106, Pete. Well, 2017 was the first one, right?
How do you get to that? No, I'm doing the actual, because remember, he showed up when he showed up with the kids, it was 88. Correct?
Right. Okay. So then I'm wrong. So then I'm wrong. You're absolutely right. I thought she was about 106 years old. My bad, folks. but Pennywise doesn't know any different. So I love the fact that they showed the Pennywise with the attachment, and then Pennywise doesn't know any different. So he just created the bigger head for himself. And I just love the details of that. And listen, Lilly was relieved that, Ingrid was relieved that Lilly saw Pennywise. And the flashback scene was even crazier with the younger version of Ingrid. She left that little girl and closed the door on her. Like, come on. She did the emo type girl. I just left her to die. But listen, the color scheme, the red colors, it was really amazing. But listen, Pennywise then changes back to her father, Bob Gray, and then she opens up the door So again, Ingrid, all this makes sense now. And Pete, I gotta tell you that in this particular scene where it all comes back and forth with the black and white scene, like it was clear cut in the sense of what's happening, right? You're not confused. I love shows that do that. Does that do it for you as well?
What, the flashback as far as her?
Yeah, the flashbacks going back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll tell you a part of the story you didn't know, and maybe you weren't even thinking about, and they'll tell you a part of the story of the backstory, and it kind of may explain things later on down the line in the series and in the show. So yeah, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, the next set of scene rocks. Hank interviews Ronnie, is interviewing Ronnie. Oh, sorry, he's interviewing Will for Ronnie. The kids get rum and coke, and I did enjoy Rich getting down on the drums.
They did give him a drink, right?
Yeah, it was. He said this coke tastes funny. It was rum and coke.
Oh God.
So they were giving them some licks. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, but whatever it was, listen, between the drugs and the drinks for the kids, this is not a kid show and not any form of fashion. But that goes back to what we always say, great parenting. Great parenting on this show. Ingrid starts putting on the periwinkle outfit on. Pete, out of those scenes, the interview of Will for Ronnie, the kids drinking, Rich on the drums, anything that you liked or anything that I would have missed between those scenes that you enjoyed?
No, I the whole time I'm still wondering why these kids are in this spot, which is, it's a spot for adults to hang out, they're drinking, and then they saw these two dancing and they were like, wow, what are they doing? So, and they were, it was dirty dancing, and they saw that. But again, like you said, Will is they have like a secret room where they're holding Hank at to kind of keep him out of view, because he's on the run from the law, because of course he broke out. Well, not broke out, but there was an accident on the bus and he escaped. But yeah, the with Hank, with Ronnie, and with Will, I like that scene. To me was I honestly, back to the drinking, I was just like, are they just complaining about the coke? And I was like, there's no way he gave them liquor, but he obviously did. But the scene for me was when they were in the room and he was talking to Will about looking out for his daughter, and then he saw that he cared up for his daughter.
I love the question. What's your favorite movie? Tell a lot about a person when you talk about their favorite movie. I did like that question. And to start the tension in Derry, we get to the bar. Chief Bowers got fired by the mayor. But he got an anonymous tip where Hank was being hidden. Pete, we get the mob to then kind of go to the black spot where they kind of cut out. But let me ask you a question. Is Ingrid getting Hank on purpose, getting with him to create the augury, that last thing, or do you think that she's in love?
I don't know. That I don't know. That's it's too much for me to dive into, because I didn't really think that much into it, as far as, is she doing this for this? I just, again, I'll let that play out, in the sense where I don't try to figure out who the killer is. If I'm watching a movie, I let it happen. If I'm doing all this, I'm not in show. If I'm trying to analyze everything, I'm not enjoying the show. I did not think that she's trying to do anything for another reason. We'll find out later on, I'm sure, if she's doing stuff behind the scenes to kind of stir shit up. But I didn't think that far ahead. But these guys showing up, obviously you spoke about the racial tension in this show, the time period that it is, and of course the cowards that they are. Of course they want to show up with a whole bunch of guys, but they all got masks on. That's
Dracula mask.
Yeah, like, come on, man. So, you're big and bad because you got a mask on, but you won't show people. You don't want people to see that you're racist.
No, don't.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You're okay with being it, but you don't want to show people. You're not that proud to be it. You know what I mean? Of course, they all had masks on. I was like, yeah, of course, that's fitting, and then that's where fade to black.
I did see a Frankenstein mask, and if you haven't seen Del Toro's Frankenstein, we reviewed it on this podcast. Put the plug in there now. But listen, we're trying to figure this out. Please comment below. Thank you all for hanging out with us on this episode of Derry. Pete, take us home.
We will return.
The worst episode ever.